Hello, Laura.
Hey, Nicholas.
It's your old pal Nicholas.
Is that you?
Yeah, it's me. It's me. Uh,
Fantastic.
how are you doing here? I'm excited. We have this conversation because within less than 2 weeks here or something, the Norwac conference is starting.
2 weeks, less than 2 weeks. On Wednesday, I'm looking at my calendar, Wednesday, the 22nd, we move into the hotel and people start showing up
Yeah.
there. But what we really want to talk about is how exciting we are really trying to make it for the virtual attendees. So that's what we really want to talk about today because the in-person conference has all the connections and people meet up and all of that. And so we have really worked hard to provide that kind of space for the virtual conference. We have a volunteer by the name of Samantha Hammer who has a lot of creative ideas, and she is going to be in charge of our social room where there will be a social meetup for the virtual attendees, and people can be put into breakout rooms to hold conversations. You can bring your glass of wine, your glass of beer, your drink of choice, your food, sit down and chat with people while you're eating, while we at the in-person conference are doing the same. So we want to help provide that kind of environment for people to make those connections. And so that'll be Friday. In fact, anytime uh, um, from the evening on after our last lecture session, which usually ends around 5 or 5:30, you've got the schedule in front of you. You might be able to check that out.
Mhm.
The social room will be open and Samantha will be there to greet you and, help you connect to people in the room.
Yeah. So the time you were talking about on from like Friday, Saturday, and the Sunday, pretty much the lectures of the day get done pretty much around 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, and there's a break, and then there's the dinner time at 6:30 in the keynote lecture. So that space of time from 5:30 into the keynotes lectures that happen each night is the social time that you're talking about and the facilitating that groups. And it's actually, Laura, for what you're saying, to it's setting up the structure, but for you people going attending virtually who will want to, you get to create the vibe too, though. You're there, and just like what happens in in-person conferences, that is the intention, to have that kind of interaction too online. So
Absolutely. And just as much as it goes for the in-person attendees, it goes for the virtual attendees. You have to step up. We provide the environment, but you gotta take the risk. You gotta reach out and say hi to people and make those connections. So you can have as much connection as you want virtually and in person, or as little as you want.
yeah.
So we hope that you will do that. We also, during the day, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, Nicholas and you and I are going to be splitting up the duty of facilitating and moderating the Q&As for the speakers. So when attendees go and look on the schedule, they'll see the Q&As scheduled for the breaks, and the link will be there eventually. I
Yeah,
have to
it'll
work
be
those up. They're
there.
not going to be there now,
Yeah.
but eventually the link will be there. You'll click on that and then you'll come into the room, and Nicholas and I will set breakout rooms for each of the speakers. So there could be one, there could be two, three, four, or five speakers at any Q&A. And whoever you'd like to go see, you self-select your room. You can dance between the rooms, and we'll have a Q&A for the break and then send everybody out to do the lectures. So that's very exciting. You'll have
Yeah. Yeah, and for those watching and wondering, like, hey, who's part of the Q&As? We've got a various amount of speakers who are doing them in between the lecture slots. If you go to norwac.net and you hit the schedule, you can actually see which time slots we have for the Q&As. If there's a particular astrologer that you have a liking to, would like to talk to, within that 30 minutes, you could take a look at the schedule. It happens once on Friday. On Saturday, I think we have one, two, three different Q&A break rooms in between the lectures, which is amazing. And then Sunday we have no, we have another three, it looks like. So for, most of the, I think at least more than 60 to 70% of the speakers, or more than half at some point, are representing themselves in the Q&As.
Yeah,
So yeah.
we didn't require all the speakers to do it. We asked them to do it. So the names that are listed on the schedule are the ones that will be doing the Q&As. And so this is just a great time for you in the virtual sphere to connect up with the speakers. And we did this back in 2020 and 2021, and it was a huge hit for the
Yeah.
virtual
Yeah, we did.
attendees.
Did that all on the fly, Laura. We did. And also too, the social component that kind of came out of those times of those breakout rooms after, at nighttime, people were able to socialize, and we created certain groups. And also too, those attending in a sense kind of contributed to the way the groups were formed, the breakout rooms. And so, or things organically happened. So here we are at another higher level of this. And
Right.
I think actually it's going to be fun to have the interactions going on, which leads us actually to something else on Saturday night, Laura. Yes.
Yes. So I think we have a couple of really exciting things. Nicholas will tell you about his deal for Saturday night. And for the virtual conference, Samantha has got planned a Saturday night masquerade after the keynote. You can go before the keynote and connect up and have your dinner with friends that you've been making or connecting with, or creating new friendships through the virtual space. You can have dinner with them, and then afterwards, we're going to have this masquerade. So basically, it is show us your ascendant without telling us what it is.
I, I, I'm thinking
All
like,
you
what
have
would I
to
do? Go
all
ahead.
you have to do is do, the top part.
Yeah. I'm already thinking like, what would I do? It's my ascendant. I'm a Taurus ascendant. So, um, I don't know. Do I wear a lot of,
That's an interesting one. I'm
yeah,
Leo rising. I'd have to wear a crown.
right, right.
And, I'd have to floof out the Leonine mane a little bit more and wear some red. And then I think the crown and the red would definitely give it away.
Yeah, and so I mean, basically, we just did this on the fly, an example of what you would do or something like that. But what Samantha's created here is a brilliant idea to give a sense to Saturday night, and so that happens after the Saturday night keynote
Yes.
that Samantha will be facilitating, and it's hey, it's up to you out there doing it to fill in the palette, do whatever you want with that, have fun, the socializing thing, and we'll do that for a while, and then at some point there, I'm going to come into that part of the virtual stream and just I had an idea. It's like, hey, what if I was sitting somewhere at a table with the mic and the camera from the conference, and I was able to pull certain speakers or certain people at the conference to sit down with me and talk and interact with the people watching virtually, and to have a free flowing conversation. I have a little bit of structure involved, but see who I can grab. So there's a unpredictability with some of this, and that's what happens with live streams. And something I'm really excited about, and it's something we're going to kind of incorporate when the masquerade party happens. I'll be coming in to see what will happen and who will I grab out of the crowd. So that is happening on Saturday night. So
Right. And the last piece we want to talk to y'all about is the workshops. We have pre and post conference workshops. There is plenty of space available in all of our workshops, from Austin Copic's pre-conference on, you got it there on the schedule.
I do.
Austin's doing one on,
He's doing on Marsilio Ficino, which is a
that's right.
huge, huge, rare type of workshop, because for those who have been studying more classical, medieval, and Hellenistic astrology in the last 10 years, some of you know who are dealing with astrological magic and doing certain things, working with the Picatrix, know the connection to Ficino's book that a lot of you are using, the Books of Life, or the Third Book of Life, as Austin has called it. And his particular workshop is called Renaissance Remedies, and bridging in his Ficino's view on things, and very workable, by the way. So that's a rare pre-conference workshop that happens on the 23rd, on the Thursday, special Thursday one. And then on the Friday, Laura, we have the pre-conference lectures that happened during the day before the conference starts.
Well,
And
we have the Thursday one that starts in the afternoon, Pacific Daylight Time. So that goes from 1 to 5:30 Pacific. And then on Friday morning, prior to the start of the opening ceremony at 12:45, we have our 4 pre-conference workshops. And Ryan Butler has stepped in to fill in a spot that Gemini Brett was unable to follow through. He had some things in his life, and these things happen. So Ryan Butler's doing one on as well on magic, remediation, and negotiating fate. So that one, if you're not able to spend the big money on, say, an all-day workshop, there is one here from Ryan Butler on remediation and magic as well. And then we have Demetra George doing mixed planetary conditions in Hellenistic astrology, Kira Sutherland doing planets and potions using planetary rulerships to support your health, and then Patricia Walsh doing a pre-conference on the shadow knows, but do you? So that will be good.
Yeah, and again, like I think for those watching too, let's say you're limited with your budget, or there's certain things you can't do the whole conference, but there's a particular like one workshop, you can just purchase that workshop and watch it virtually.
Yes,
And
you can.
so you can. And so yes, you can see with some of the descriptions of the workshop that Laura said about, we have a touching varying degrees of the astrology world and different views, which is great. And that continues actually into the post-conference lectures, Laura, that happens on Monday, or excuse me, yes, on Monday.
Yep.
I want to get the date here, that May 27th.
Yep.
And those start at 10 a.m. Pacific. They run to like 4 p.m. Pacific. An old
They'll
friend
have
of
a
ours,
Yeah, they have a lunch break,
they have a
just so
lunch
you
break.
know.
Mhm.
So you can take your lunch as well.
Yeah, an old friend of ours, Laura, from great speaker Frank Clifford, is one of the workshop teachers. He's forecasting a master class in 9 key steps, which this is really Frank's forte, like
It
how
absolutely
he
is.
breaks things down there.
Absolutely.
And then we get into Judith Hills from the Portland, Oregon area, who's an astrologer and known as a medical astrologer, and definitely a one-of-a-kind speaker with rare knowledge that will come through this. And she's doing a lecture called The Joy of Planetary Energetics, Medical Astrology for Everyone. That's good. And
Yep.
then our old pal, Rick Levine,
Rick Levine.
is doing a hands-on natal chart interpretation, getting to the core of the matter in real time. And we all know Rick is a master astrologer with a unlimited amount of reference and knowledge. I think he really shines in workshops from what I've seen. We know him speaking
Yeah.
on YouTube and certain things, but on the workshop level, he's amazing. And then we round it off with the amazing Kelly Surtees, Laura.
And
Uh,
she was not able to be with us last year. She was in, I think she had a sibling getting married and wasn't able to make it to the 2023 conference. So excited to have her back. And she's doing the work on the business of being an astrologer. Now, you know, look, it's, I had the benefit of a mother being an astrologer, having a business in astrology. There was a roadmap for me to follow, and certainly do my own thing within that. But there's a lot of young astrologers finding their way into the profession, not really knowing the basic business components of how to be a business as an astrologer. So the business of being an astrologer. And so she's going to, talk about how do you get started.
yeah, and it's again, of varying views and ways, but that's how Norwac has always been, huh, Laura? Is like,
Yeah,
a place, whether it's virtually or it's in person, with the history of different kinds of astrology, different lectures, and also the intertwining of those worlds that happen at the conference, and shared ideas and healthy debates. And always, for me, my experience is always, besides the lectures, besides the webinars, besides all that, there's other things that come organically from this conference that
it's
people
true.
take forward in their lives. I've
Mhm.
seen conversations happen at Norwac where 6 months later, something I heard in a conversation, there was a book published, or there's just like, you're a stranger here, like, let's say you're thinking coming virtually and you're meeting people and you're a stranger and you're like, hey, I don't know anybody. And then things happen. It's like you're talking in the rooms and you meet people, and that carries into the future, you know?
It
So
absolutely carries into the future. You do the the future is manifest made of connections that we make in the moment, right? Because meeting person A over here takes us on one trajectory, meeting person B over here takes us on a different trajectory. Our world is the manifestation of the choices and actions and connections we make. So whether you do that virtually or whether you do that in person, those connections can be made, and they can have and will have profound effects as you move forward in your life as an astrologer.
yeah, and I agree with you because, for example, that happened to me here with this particular conference over the years of volunteering, with you and working and all that. But the connections I've made, and just the fact to be able to speak the language with fellow colleagues, regardless of the study level, there's
Yep.
just a camaraderie that happens, and you do take that with you. And for those watching, let's say who just started to study, like right before the pandemic and COVID, and you've hit a certain level here with your studies, and you're looking for something more concrete, looking for guidance. These types of situations, like a Norwac conference, and the people that you meet there can change your astrological life. It did for
Absolutely.
me, and there's a lot of
Absolutely.
other people you can ask the
Uh-huh.
same thing.
Mhm.
So for that, and the energy and the intention of that, of Norwac, which has brought that for 40 years. Laura, I mean, this is huge. The 40-year anniversary of this conference,
Yep.
right? That
I was just a young woman when it started with small little children. And here we are, as you say, 40 years later. And my children have grown up and they're helping me run the conference. And there's grandchildren that are coming up, and some of them will be there. So, um, look, conferences are an amazing playground, and astrology conferences particularly, they're just an amazing playground for speaking our language, feeling that connection, and learning in the process. Because I think though our intention is to go to learn, what we find is that connections are the more important, and through the connections the learning takes a deeper seating in our consciousness, whether we know it or not. And again, as you said, 6 weeks, 2 days, a year down the line, what you were absorbing in a conversation or in a lecture shows up or comes forward in a deeper and richer way.
it
All
does,
due to that.
and considering here now we're in 2024, and the everything that you said, Laura, too. Not only does it happen in person, but from our experience of doing
Yeah,
Norwac online and virtually, that energy there is also too virtually. And so here we
absolutely.
have the merging of the worlds together
Mhm.
for a hybrid conference. So pretty excited about all this, Laura. It's coming up here soon. It's like going up on stage and a good, excited, nervous feeling. And
Yeah,
so, yeah.
for
So
sure.
yeah. So as a reminder, everyone, if you're interested in anything that we said, from the workshops to the whole conference itself on the virtual angle, you can go to norwac.net and you can see the schedule, the speakers, the cost, and you can register through there. And yeah, Laura, I guess um, another round here, 40
Another
years.
round, my friend.
Yeah.
I hope that we will see some of you in the virtual space, because Nicholas and I will be there helping facilitate the Q&As and some other of the parts of the virtual event.